Játészé Pelletier initially Billigana Bushestein, Kimachini Dashache, Billigana Dashanella. Welcome back to Res Ball, where we are talking about Hunter Sallis, Wake Forest's dynamic guard here. Maybe the draft's forgotten guy this year. I know I've remarked before that maybe Hunter made a bad decision coming back. I do still think that's the case, but I don't think it's really Hunter's fault, and Hunter's game hasn't changed much. You're going to hear a lot of context stuff for me in this one. That's kind of the theme with this three-person block of mega scoring guards. So let's get started right about now. Hunter Sallis from Omaha, Nebraska, supposedly Nebraska's first ever five-star recruit, went to Millard North High School where he scored 22.2 points per game, pulled in 4.6 rebounds per game, and dished out 3.8 assists per game in his final season there at Millard North High School. I mean, any prospect coming out of Omaha, Nebraska, talk to Rafael Barlow, talk to James Barlow. They'll tell you all you need to know about those guys. John Tanja will be another one we come back to later. I remember reaching out to them on Twitter. So anybody coming out of Omaha, talk to those guys because that's where they're from. Hunter's mom, just a little tidbit here. Hunter's mom led Omaha Central there to two Nebraska Class A titles when she played. She did play for San Diego State as well. And his cousins to Ron Boone, who played for like the Lakers and the Jazz, probably where he's more well known for. I think he played in the ABA too. So this is like 60s to 70s. Ron Boone. If that's too old for you, then her other cousin is some guy named James Harden. So interesting family get togethers to say the least. So a lot to like in terms of the background. And if you care about those things of like, hey, the background, what does this person look like? What kind of upbringing do they have? If you want to say, hey, being in a basketball family matters, well, Ron Boone, James Harden at the family gatherings, there you go. Let's dive right into Hunter Sallis's stat profile from Sports Reference. So this past season at Wake Forest, Hunter Sallis, 18.3 points per game, pulled in 5.1 rebounds per game, just out 2.8 assists to 1.2 steals per game, 0.5 blocks per game, and then 2.4 turnovers per game. Shooting for Hunter Sallis, 54.7% from two-point range, 27.7% from three-point range. Yes, I know. And then 80.4% from the free throw line. Let's look at the advanced stuff. Hunter Sallis, 54.9% true shooting percentage. Like I said last time, 55% pre-average, so 54.9%, just a teeny tiny bit below average. You can imagine that three-point percentage, 27.7% had a lot to do with that. And then we got a three-point attempt rate of 33.5% and a free throw attempt rate of 32%, which was a career high. So you're going to hear me say this a lot with progression with Hunter Sallis. Yes, some of the numbers, like the three-point numbers, don't look great, but a lot of things this year are career highs, including that free throw attempt rate. And I believe the free throw numbers, I know in the attempts, it was a career high, 4.6 free throw attempts per game, as well as in the totals, 148. So this is somebody whose craft has gotten better and he's honed that ability to get to the line more and more as he's been given more usage. And as he's been the lead guy here at Wake Forest, we had to do a ton of stuff. Another career high is 18% assist rate to almost a career low, 12.8 turnover rate. Last year was his career low and turnover rate 11.2, but the last 2 years under 13% turnover rate while being a high usage guy. This year 27.7% usage. Great stuff to see Hunter Sallis continue to move forward as a playmaker. I'm sure that's one of the reasons he went back to Wake Forest this year. I know he tested the draft waters last draft cycle. A lot of people, including myself, were like, this guy's probably anywhere between like 15 to 30. Definitely a first round pick last year with the numbers that he put out, but decided to go back. And I'm sure a lot of it had to do with the feedback that he received at the NBA Combine. I'm sure NHL had something to do with it as well. His Wake Forest team didn't change like too much either. So you would think like this is an easy sell to go back and clearly to improve. The free throw numbers are improved from 115 to 148 free throws. The assists improved from 86 to 90 assists. And again, the overall lead scorer stuff seems to round out more. You just wish the 3-point shot fell more. Um, I'm gonna give you this. I thought about doing the measurements first, but to me, really, I mentioned last time that Trey Johnson might have had the worst context. If I had to argue for one guy of like they had the absolute worst team context, well, and that's what you should consider first in the scouting profile before all the numbers and everything else. I argue it's Hunter Sallis. I hate to bury his teammates like this, but I mean, it was rough. First off, Wake Forest was still 21-11, 13-7 in the ACC. They're fourth. So it's not like all of that led to Hunter Sallis dragging his team down. They're still 21-11. They got, axed out of the tournament. That's what happens in ACC when you're fourth. It's just a really, really tough break. Again, most of these guys are returning. Like Cameron Hilder's returned, Efton Reed returned. They got some good transfers in Omaha. Bill Yu, Tyler Johnson. I like Juke Harris a lot as a freshman. You heard Jam and I talk about him. You got Trevon Spillers. Like, you think this team has enough solid foundation of returners and some big time transfers that you're like, okay, you can see this ending up being good. Only one guy, well, two guys if you count Hunter Sallis. I'm throwing Hunter out of this. Remember, 18.3 points per game is what he scored. Everybody else, there's only one other guy on this Wake Forest team that scored 10 points per game or more, and that was Cameron Hildreth. And Cameron Hildreth shot 47% from 2-point range and 31.2% from three. And he only took 3 per game. There was no spacing on this team, first and foremost. I mean, look at this. Hunter took 155 threes. The next closest guy was Cameron Hildreth, the 93. And then we got 83 for Davin Cosby Jr., 79 for Parker Friedrichsen, Juke Harris, the freshman at 66, and everyone else like 58 or lower. I mean, you're barely taking three. The only other guy, Davin Cosby Jr., was the only other guy to take more than 3-point attempts per game. Think about that first. It's like, okay, Hunter, you got to go create all this offense. Also, you need to be the leading 3-point shooter. And oh, by the way, we're only going to have one other guy that shoots anywhere near the amount of threes that you do. And that guy shoots 31.3% from three. And the other guy that's 3-point attempts per game in Cameron Hildreth, 31.2%. Parker Friedrichsen, 25.3% from three. Juke, 30.3%. The freshman Juke Harris, 30.3% from three. Tyler Johnson, 24.1%. Trevon Spillers, 28.6%. Efton Reed, 27%. And then the only other guy to shoot a good percentage, 38.5% for Omaha Bill on one free throw attempt per game. And that's in 13 games. So every last single thing when you talk about Hunter Sallis, there's only one other guy that could score double-digit points consistently on this team. That guy couldn't shoot threes. He barely took 3 every game. He had less assists than Hunter Sallis at 2.7 assists per game. Hunter Sallis was the leading assist guy on this Wake Forest team with 90. Cameron Hildreth was 84. Tyler Johnson was 79. So you won 21 games. You went 13 and what was that? 13 and 7 in the ACC play. Gee, I wonder why. Hunter Sallis led Wake Forest in points. He led Wake Forest in assists. He led Wake Forest in 3-point attempts. I mean, what do you want from this guy? He did everything, almost. Such a gigantic load and such a terrible context to work within where you're not getting any spacing and you're barely getting one other guy that pulls gravity away from you as a scorer. I think Hunter Sallis did a tremendous job to still maintain this level for his team in a conference that got bigger, in a conference that got tougher, that was already tough to begin with. Again, sure, you want these percentages to be better, but what player could thrive in this system? What player could post better numbers in this environment? Think about that. Hunter Sallis at the combine measured in at 6'3", and 3/4 inches. So 6'3" 0.75 inches without shoes. So he's probably like 6'4", 6'5" in shoes. We'll say 6'5" in shoes. 181.4 pounds with a 6'10" wingspan, 6'10" right on the money. So again, 6'3" and 3/4 inches without shoes, 181.4 pounds, and then 6'10" wingspan. Let's look at the shot chart now. You know it's going to be a little bit brutal. But if you're watching this on YouTube, I imagine that you're shocked. Number one, that it is red. It's not just like a little red. It's bright red, both in the mid-range and in the paint. And then it's, a little bit lighter shade of red in at the rim. 46.6% on 103 shots in the mid-range for Hunter Sallis. 53.3% in the paint on 122 shots in the paint. 53.3% on 122 shots in the paint for Hunter Sallis, and then 67.1% at the rim on 82 shots. Are you starting to see my point here? And then from three, yes, it's bad, 28.2%. 37 of 131 shots from three on above the break threes, and then 6 of 22 from the corners. Again, all three of these guys, Trey Johnson, Hunter Sallis, Caleb Love. If you want to be a three-point shooter in the corner, again, I don't know what you're doing. These are not the guys you want to park in the corner. Lead ball handlers, primary scorers that can play make some. So let's dive into these medium zones. Left corner, 5 of 14, 35.7%. 1 of 8 from right corner, 12.5%, whatever. From the left wing, 14 of 40 for 35%. Even work with that. 12 of 45 from top of the key, 26.7%. And then 11 of 46 from the right wing, 23.9%. I mean, I'm just going to be perfectly blunt. When he doesn't have to do everything, when he's in an actual NBA team, those are guys that have to be guarded. I imagine that 35% probably is going to be the minimum for every single spot up here. And he's shooting like league average, 36% probably from everywhere. Again, if you want to argue against that, fine, whatever. That's why I put the context at the beginning. This guy's facing so much coverage. This guy is like a hand in his face consistently. I mean, he's catching grenades all season long. Ain't nobody else scoring enough. That's why these percentages are all bad. It's not that his form went funky. It's not that he quote unquote reverted, because I know there's that argument too where he didn't do so well at Gonzaga. So many tough shots for Hunter Sallis. The mid-range, again, the mid-range overall percentage was good, but look at this. Break it down into the different spots. From the right elbow, not so great. 6 of 20, 30%. That's where the not so great story ends, anywhere inside the 2-point arc. 12 of 27 from the left elbow, 44.4%. Good. 17 of 35 from the right baseline, 48.6%. Very good. 13 of 21 from the left baseline, 61.9%. Elite. Didn't get to that shot a lot, but all these other shots. Again, another good indicator of the shot he took the least is the one he has the bad percentage on, and everywhere else is good. 44.4% from left elbow, 48.6% from right baseline, and then 61.9% from left baseline. Like the baseline shot was really good. That again, he had to do that to bail himself out. But he definitely has worked on being a mid-range savant to convert at a high rate, and converting the entire mid-range at 46.6%. And then in the paint, runner floor game, on point, Tyrese Maxey, Emmanuel Quickly level, like just fire away with that floater, man. Like you're all good. Seriously, 53.3%. You know how, like, there's not even centers we're going to look at that are that good and that high of a percentage and took that many shots in the paint. 53.3% in the paint for Hunter Sallis. My goodness, you can't shoot any better than that as a guard, red hot. And then 67.1% at the rim, 55 of 82. It's solid, but you see here, he's a driver. He can create and do things with his handle in the mid-range and the three-point shot. Again, you just got to look at it and think, man, if he's got better spacing, you imagine that's going to be at least league average. Go back and look at the games too, starting in conference play. Well, I guess it's technically starting a little bit before conference play. It's December 17th, 2024 against James Madison. So this is the final 21 games for Hunter Sallis. 19.3 points per game, So that points per game go up. 6 rebounds per game. That goes up. 2.7 assists, 1.1 steals per game, 0.6 blocks per game, and then 2.2 turnovers per game. 57 assists to 47 turnovers. Again, keeping that positive assist to turnover ratio, even though his teammates ain't exactly knocking down all the feeds he's giving them. Shooting splits 56.3% from 2-point range, 215 shots, like 56.3% as the lead scoring guard over 19 points per game. Again, this is where you go back to the shot chart and you're like, okay, now I understand. All those mid-range shots are falling. I mean, probably hitting pretty much almost 100% in the paint and then converting at an above average rate at the rim. You don't shoot 56.3% from 2-point range for a long stretch. Again, that's small sample size, 21 games. If you're not elite and know how to work and have savvy and craft inside the 2-point mark. And then 29.8% from 3-point range. Again, that's the area that is really, really, really rough still. But 215 2-pointers to 94 threes. You get an idea. This is where he's like, okay, I can't be shooting all these threes anymore. I have to drive in. I want to get more contact. 4.8 free throw attempts per game here. I need to work my mid-range. I need to work the runner floater. I need to work getting to the rim. And the 3-point shot kind of fell by the wayside because if you're not the one driving in there, then nobody's really like getting pressure taken off of them. Again, the team context, such a terrible team context here for Hunter Sallis. And at the end, the final 21 games still managed to get over 19% or 19 points per game. Still managed to shoot 56.3% from 2-point range. And then even the 3-point percentage did go up, not by a lot, 27.7 in the whole year to 29.8% in the final games. But I mean, if you really look at those games too, there are some games where he's shooting like 0 of 6 from 3. I think that was the North Carolina game on January 21st. And then there was another one where he was like 1 of 7, I think. Yeah, against SMU, I believe, February 15th. But again, there's these games where it's like, I have to take these threes. We got to get into it. I got to draw, guys off of me. The film study is paramount with Hunter Sallis. If you liked Hunter Sallis last year and still gave him a first-round grade, I don't think that should change. Just because he's taking these same shots, he's still pulling his team forward. It's just the rest of the guys around him just got cold, weren't able to pull off. The transfers they brought in didn't end up working out this year. And so Hunter had to do a lot more and still managed to win 21 games for this squad. Still fantastic shooter in the paint, still a fantastic mid-range shooter, still maintained really good numbers at the rim, increased his assist turnover ratio, increased his free throw attempt rate. Like, what more do you want from a guy who's quote unquote undersized, who are like, he's kind of stuck between point guard and shooting guard? Like, this kid should not be penalized for all these improvements and for all that he did for his team when the context in which he's operating in got worse from the year before. So Hunter Sallis, again, kind of the forgotten man, I think, because of that context, but still so much good in here. And I believe that 3-point number is probably going to end up being league average. If you look at Hunter Sallis for his entire career, I understand if you want to be like, I don't think he's ever really been a good shooter. Spent his first 2 years at Gonzaga. First year played only 13.6 minutes per game, 26.3% from 3. Second year, Gonzaga played 16.7 minutes per game, 25.6% from 3-point range. And then last year at Wake Forest was the only year where he shot anywhere above 27, 28% from 3, 40.5%. So I understand if you want to make the argument that that's the outlier season. I don't believe that's who he is. Again, I'm not going to get in your way of that because the data says it is what it is, right? And that is the only year he shot 28% or better from 3. So fine. But I looking at all this film, looking at the team context, and then seeing everywhere else where he got better, I believe in the kid. I believe in the work ethic. I believe in how he's worked on his game and gotten better in his craft. I do also think this is somebody that even if they do end up struggling in the NBA, ends up being like a Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert's taller, but again, I'm a Michigan guy, so I've seen Karis, and I was at Michigan from 2012 until 2019-ish. So all those guys there, like I was firsthand there watching them every game. And for Karras, I kind of felt the same way with Hunter of like, I don't know about this three, but you can see the ball handling is there. You can see like you want to give him a ball and he's a natural scorer. And inside the 2 point arc, he does a lot of crafty things that is really hard for a guard to learn along the way. And I think Hunter did a better job at becoming a passer and is probably going to be better at generating free throws, but still that same type of player to where you can't deny the scoring ability. You can't deny that he's a good ball handler and a good enough passer that you turn the ball over to. But at the same time, like the shot is really the determining factor on like, do I play this guy with the starters or do I need to really kind of put him in the second unit to where he maintains the scoring and keeps pressure on the defense? I think it's more of that latter and like compared to Nick Karras, because Karras hasn't always been able to be in the starting lineup. He's played 524 games in his NBA career, Karras LeVert, but he's only started 223. And I think there's only been 2, 3, maybe 4 seasons like where he's started consistently. All the other times, teams have trusted him to come off the bench, continue to get buckets. Some years, 3 point shot falls. Sometimes it doesn't. But everything else, you're gonna trust him to generate shots in the mid range. You're gonna trust him to attack that rack and get in there, and you're gonna trust him to be able to play make enough to get other guys open. So I do think Hunter Sallis is a lot like Karras LeVert. Again, he's a little bit smaller. Karras is listed at 6'6", I believe, but it's still the same type of guy. Good ball handler with good craft. You trust everything he does inside the 2-1 arc, and you just want that 3-point shot to maintain average efficiency because everything else you look at is great. And defensively, probably the same with Karras. We're like, he's not going to kill you, but he's not exactly like a defensive playmaker, or he's not like this positional maven or whatever. You look at him and you're like, he's totally fine. Wake Forest, he was totally fine. And if he's a bench player, again, that's not really going to be that big of an issue. And probably another reason why Karras hasn't always consistently been a starter is like when he is in the starting lineup, it's like, well, he needs the ball, he needs these other things, and defense isn't where he's going to expend his energy. So I do really like Hunter Sallis. Compares very favorably to Karras LeVert, in my opinion. Let's look at some resources. Unfortunately, being the draft's forgotten guy, like I think a lot of draft evaluators just relied on their videos from last year to really like carry the burden with Hunter Sallis, which I think is a mistake. Because if you look at a lot of Hunter Sallis stuff online right now, it's either from last year or a lot of it comes from the ACC Digital Network, where they give you either the highlights or like the game. So ACC Digital Network, a lot of stuff there if you want to just check out the games. College basketball scouting, one of the few places that did update Hunter Sallis stuff to this year. Cyril Alesso has a nice interview with Hunter Sallis here at this year's Combine as well, if you want to go check that out. As he should, always with any of the interview stuff here. And then Swish Network is probably the other one where absolutely go look at all the stuff that they bring up there with Hunter Sallis. I have Hunter Sallis at 28. I think I forgot to say last time about our guy, Trey Johnson. I have Trey Johnson at number 5. So apologies, I forgot to say that. So, I mean, if you couldn't tell, I'm super high on Trey Johnson. I still think Trey Johnson should be number 5 overall prospect at the very least. He could be number 4, but Trey Johnson is a top 5 guy, no doubt. Here with Hunter Sallis, so I still think, again, first round guy. Outside of the lottery, 16 to 30, another guy that I think anywhere in there you can get. You just can't find guys that have this advanced level of 2-point creation who worked on the craft and got better in every single area. And then the team context there just shrugged them down. That really affected the 3-point percentage. Everyone else is great, though. So do not forget about Hunter Sallis. He has had a fantastic season to be able to do all the things that he did. Just struggled from 3. But I still believe that shot's going to be around league average. So, yeah, thank you so much for listening to us. We will catch you next time. Good night.